welcome to what I believe will be one of the most interesting hours you're likely to spend this side of the financial year. How are you? I am Lee Med. This is a Dumfries and Galloway Chamber of Commerce webinar in association with a whole host of great partners that we work with every single day to help develop the young workforce across Dumfries and Galloway. And that's a very broad title. That's a very broad thing, isn't it? Developing the young workforce. What does it mean? What support is actually out there and available? Well, hopefully we are going to be able to answer some of those questions in the next 60 minutes. As you can see, we've got a whole host of panelists on our screen just now. Let's go around the room. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, what organisation they represent, and most importantly, what they actually do here in Dumfries and Galloway to help develop the young workforce. Let's go and say good morning, Melanie McEwen. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Lee. Good morning, everyone. My name's Melanie McEwen, and I work for the Dumfries and Galloway Council, and I lead the Employability and Skills Service, and we work really closely in partnership with Graham Galloway, with other partners in SDS to support young people into work through various means, some of which you'll hear about later in the presentation.
Thank you very much, Melanie. Graham, we heard your name mentioned there. How are you this morning? How is things in the world of DYW?
Very good, Lee. For those that don't know me, I'm Graham Galloway. I'm the lead for DYW within Dumfries and Galloway. So we are hosted by the Chamber of Commerce and obviously work closely with them and our other partners that are on today. And we're often described as bridging the gap between businesses and education. And we work very closely with employers and with school pupils and colleges about inspiring young people for future careers within the region.
Thank you so much, Graham. Who else do we have here? Let's go to SDS's Pam Ralston. Good morning, Pam.
Good morning, Lee. Thanks very much. My name's Pam Ralston. I'm the Employer Engagement Advisor working in Dumfries and Galloway. Skills Development Scotland are the national skills body, so it's our job role to make sure that young people move into employment and are supported with proper training through the very wide apprenticeship family.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us this morning. And also at the bottom of our screen, and I'll need to have a look at this because for some strange reason, it says we have two Graham Galloways in the room. And that is most definitely not correct because there's somebody that pre to this pandemic was in a room with one Graham Galloway quite a lot. I can tell you that is indeed enough. I'm going to say good morning, Graham number two, Marie McEwen from the Employability and Skills Service. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Apologies, just new to Zoom, so again, I think how I've got a different name. But yeah, I'm Marie McEwen. I work with Employability and Skills Service, supporting obviously Melanie McEwen. So good morning, everybody.
Thank you for being here with us. It's much appreciated. So these are our panelists this morning. We're going to cover off some of the funds and some of the support you might have heard of over the past few weeks, even the past few months, including the Kickstart scheme, which is in there, the Young Persons Guarantees in there as well, and a whole host of other things. But as you can see, we've got some slides. You don't need to take some notes because after this, what we will do is we'll send out a copy of our slide pack to you. So you can just sit back for the next hour, enjoy the presentation and take in everything. So, so many funds out there. Graham, where can we start? What actually is going on to help develop the young workforce across Dumfries and Galloway?
Yeah, so I'm just going to give a bit of background to what's been described as the pandemic generation, which how COVID-19 is presenting significant challenges for young people across Dumfries and Galloway. And there's a huge number of reports and studies now that are telling us that young people are typically first to lose their jobs, are less likely to be recruited into new jobs, and they're experiencing a scarring effect as a result of the recession. A scarring effect really is, spells of unemployment, particularly while young, can affect individuals' future earnings, their employment prospects, and their health and well-being. And we've seen a lot of studies about the kind of mental health of young people as a result of leaving school and not being able to find employment. Young people are being hit, I suppose, by the perfect storm, a weak demand in the economy, high competition for available jobs, and particularly in shutdown sectors. So young people are overrepresented in certain sectors, and I'm thinking in particular hospitality and tourism, which are just being decimated just now by the lockdown. And clearly it's affecting people right across the board, from new school leavers looking for job opportunities to those that are coming out of university. And in fact, the Institute of Fiscal Studies, they summed up one report by saying it's a bad time to graduate. A couple of statistics just within Dumfries and Galloway, our youth unemployment, so those that are signing on for universal benefit, has increased 65% from January to November last year. It was actually over 100% at one point and was gradually falling slightly, but still 65% up. But that was before we went into lockdown 2. I don't have the most up-to-date figures, but as of November, 826 young people under the age of 24 within the region were looking for employment, and that was up from 502 in January. And apprenticeship opportunities across Scotland, well, they've dropped between 75 and 50%, depending on what sector that you work from. It has come down slightly to nearer 50% across the board. But again, with lockdown 2 happening, we expect that figure to rise. In Dumfries and Galloway, opportunities for young people to take up apprenticeships dropped from 124 the same period last year to just 38. You consider those lost opportunities that were available to young people. You can hopefully see the kind of predicament they're in. The Scottish Government and the UK Government have both invested money into trying to address this, either through the Kickstart programme or the Scottish Government £60 million for its Youth Guarantee ambition, which basically states that every young person aged between 16 and 24 will have the opportunity, depending on their circumstances and their desire, to study, to take up an apprenticeship, a job or work experience, or participate in formal volunteering. So that £60 million has been split in a number of ways. So from my own perspective, DYW, £10 million nationally has gone to the network to really fund school coordinators. So what this is doing is putting either teachers or other employed people into schools to really cement that curriculum offer for vocational training, for employability and skills, to really point out, that young people having those skills to go into the marketplace is just as important as having your algebra ABC in the correct order. Of the other money that's available, local authorities nationally received £30 million for a variety of support and employability programmes, and Melanie's going to touch on that later on. SDS received an additional £15 million to really boost the apprenticeship family, and that's on top of the £10 million that already existed for an Adopt an Apprentice scheme. Colleges themselves received nationally £10 million for retraining and upskilling. And then obviously the Kickstart programme is funded through the UK government, and it's aimed at giving young people an opportunity of work experience, and we hope ultimately a job. So we're going to cover bits and pieces of these as we go through. I had hoped that Kerry from DWP would be here this morning, but I think she must be having some technical issues. So I'm going to pass over to Melanie McEwen for the next slide, please, Lee.
Hi folks. I'm going to cover a little bit on this slide about both Kickstart and Young Persons Guarantee. And although Kerry obviously was going to try and talk you through the Kickstart, just to reassure you that we meet, there's a regional approach group working together with Kerry and the DWP, ourselves in the local authority, Lee from the Chamber, and Katie from Third Sector D&G, and another partner, Gateway, to make sure that we are trying to hide the wiring, I guess, is what we're hoping to do for employers. So we're working really closely, and we meet weekly to try and coordinate that approach. So the summary, because we really appreciate how complex it is to navigate the public sector funding. So the Kickstart training placement is there to offer a 6-month placement to somebody who is unemployed, 16 to 24-year-old, on universal credit. And that covers the wages for up to 25 hours a week at the national minimum wage. In addition, there's a £1,500 contribution that comes with each young person towards training, setup and employability costs. So that would be for very basic. We appreciate it's not a huge amount of money to set somebody up, but to start them off on the basics that they would need for your sector. Any setup costs, so if they need any particular kit, PPE or technical kit like a laptop or something, that's there for that. And then there are expectations around what the young people will be able to achieve by the end of the 6 months in terms of transferable employability skills. So they should be able to prepare a CV, they should be able to complete an application form and be confident at an interview. So part of the process is looking at how we work together to do that. The process for that is that Graham will talk at the end about the sort of technicalities of the process, but basically that goes to Kerry at DWP, and she works with employers to complete a vacancy form. And some of you, I think, will already have maybe been talking to Lee about that. Goes to DWP for approval, and then that starts the process. What we have in addition to that at our disposal for employers who might have a job opportunity, rather than just that training placement opportunity, if there's a job opportunity available, we can access the pot of money from the Young Persons Guarantee from the Scottish Government. So we are able to offer a training allowance then for the next 6 months. So if a young person does the first 6 months in a job, and if they're doing really well and there's a job prospect at the end of that, then we can talk about offering a training allowance for that young person to carry on. So we have around £4,000, up to £4,000 to offer, which would be paid in instalments. But in addition to that, whether it's Kickstart or whether it's Young Persons Guarantee, 6 months or 12 months, the employers can have the support of employability key workers. And that's just to come back to a little bit, that 30 million that Graham mentioned that local authorities were given, so the pro rata distribution for Dumfries and Galloway Council, we were given a very strong steer from the Scottish Government to make that available as training allowances and to put in support staff. So we have an existing employability and skills team. So we've not upped that team. What we're doing is looking to spend some of that money supporting additional staff in partner organisations across the region. But that means as employers that you would have access to support and staff to help that young person with the employability skills, with the transferable skills, with the support, because we know these young people are young people who are not in jobs. They've maybe just left school. They've been made redundant, so they don't have those work skills. They're not work ready young people, so we appreciate that they will need a bit of extra support. What we expect the employers to contribute is mentoring and support, so have a named mentor for the young person, enable attendance at training, be that online or groups or whatever, and where you can, where there's capacity within your business to provide that employability support. In terms of numbers and finances and things, we have, the Scottish Government have said that there will be funding again next financial year for that, but we haven't had the grant letter, so we don't know how much that is. But based on this financial year, we've got around 15 of these training allowances that we can set aside and carry forward the funding for next year. And what we need is the paperwork in place. We don't need the young person to have necessarily started by March because of COVID rules or just set up time, but we need to have that opportunity. If it's a 12-month opportunity, if there's likely to be a job at the end, paperwork done, and then we can set aside that funding to support that person through next year. Lee, if you would like to move on to the next slide, please. I'm not going to go through this next slide in detail, but this is a summary for you, and we'll send this out as a flyer so that you can see that all on the one page, just the differences between the Kickstart and the Young Persons guarantee. But really, what I would like to do today is to reassure you that if you come back and think you have an opportunity, is not to worry too much about which funding pot is the best pot. If you talk that through, we will work behind the scenes to work out what's the best package, what's the best pot to go to first to get this up and running as quickly as possible.
And I think, Melanie, that has been one of the key things, certainly the key strengths over the past, well, the past 7 or 8 months, that our Kickstart partnership group has been working together. It's brought together all strands from across Dumfries and Galloway, third sector, the council, ourselves at the Chamber, and other partners and providers who have actually been able to take those queries, take those questions where people have been almost overwhelmed by what the information that's been presented to them. And we've been able to have those conversations with businesses, no matter what size they are, and actually explain to them what avenue is right for them and help take them through that step-by-step process. So what I would say is, as Melanie says, any questions, either get in touch with us through the chat box, through email, or when we'll send you this stuff out, and we will direct you to the relevant people and we'll have that hand-holding conversation with you. Thank you very much. All right, next slide, if we move on here. All about the apprenticeship family, which is mighty, mighty big. And there's something in that for absolutely everyone, isn't there?
There is indeed. So thanks very much, Lee, and thanks, Melanie. I'd like to talk about some of the support available to businesses who go on to actually employ some of these young people, as well as support for their existing workforce. So as Lee said, the apprenticeship family is much bigger. It's got babies and it's got daddies now. It used to be one particular level, which was the modern apprenticeship. But due to the nature of business, we have developed a whole range of different apprenticeships within the apprenticeship flagship programme. So whether you're looking to hire somebody new or to develop an existing employee, you know, apprenticeships can be the building blocks to create a strong workforce, as well as look at a future workforce. They've been developed by industry and with industry, and they're designed to meet your skill needs, increase productivity and capability, improve employee confidence, and are a great succession planning programme for all businesses. So the baby of the family is the apprenticeship, the foundation apprenticeship, sorry. They're available in school. They're aimed at the senior phase of education, so the S5, S6. They are a subject choice within the timetabled curriculum, and they're equivalent to a higher qualification. They give businesses access to a future talent pipeline by providing school pupils with real experience of the world of work, and most importantly in that sector. Pupils gain a better understanding of the sector and also the opportunities within it, as well as by doing that, they're actually getting to know you and your business and your team. So they gain an industry recognised qualification designed for your sector, and they are potential future employees who would be able to hit the road running right from the first day they start in the workplace. By doing foundation apprenticeships with all this experience under the belt, they are well equipped to make a decision if this is the type of work they would like to do as a first kind of career step, as well as, you know, they know what they're getting into. So retention rates for foundation apprenticeships tend to be really high. They know exactly what's involved. You get to know the pupil because you're working with them, with them on a challenge, you're keeping in regular contact with them. But just as importantly, they're getting to know you and the team. Best of all, for the foundation apprenticeship is there's no financial cost to the business, and it provides you with a committed and qualified recruitment talent pool to dip into when you're looking to recruit. The pathways that are available locally are creative and digital media, engineering, food and drink technologies, and social services, children and young people. So the next apprenticeship is the kind of traditional one that everybody has heard of, the modern apprenticeship. So modern apprenticeships it's a work-based learning programme, and again it's been developed by industry for industry, and it's to ensure that employees are equipped with the right skills and underpinning knowledge to work safely and effectively in the workplace. There's bizarrely over 400 different pathways available through 80 odd frameworks. Some are very sector specific, whilst others cover more generic functions in a business like administration, accounting, marketing, customer service, management, etc. So there's a whole range of different apprenticeships. There are 3 elements to an apprenticeship. The first is the vocational accredited qualification. This qualification has mandatory units, so everybody must have a certain skill set, but there's also optional units attached to these qualifications, and this gives the business an opportunity to actually tailor the learning to suit your business need. Also included in the apprenticeship programme is the 5 core skills: communication, ICT, numeracy, problem solving, and working with others. These core skills are needed in every workplace, no matter what you're doing. And again, industry has set the skill levels required for the core skills. All young people leave school with these core skills at various levels. The third and final element is often an enhancement unit or a professional development award. And it's those 3 elements: the qualification that's recognised by industry, the core skills to give you a more rounded employee, as well as these enhancement units. They're all wrapped up within the modern apprenticeship programme. Some of the MAs are delivered entirely in the workplace, and there's others like construction, engineering, that actually require some external training that's usually delivered by a college. We contract with training providers on an annual basis to deliver the modern apprenticeship programme. We make a funding contribution towards the cost of the learning. That's actually paid to the training providers to support the employee to achieve the modern apprenticeship with the learning materials, the training plans, one-to-one support, as well as the assessments required to demonstrate that they have actually gained the right skills and knowledge and progressed through the apprenticeship. Contribution rates vary quite dramatically, actually, from £400 up to £10,000 to £100, and that varies depending on the sector, but also on the age of the apprentice. You can use modern apprenticeships to attract new talent as well, but you can also use them to upskill existing employees. They can often improve productivity, and as a result, they end service delivery of your staff. They're great for business as well as the individuals. And as I mentioned earlier, they really are a really good succession planning tool for business. Any business in any sector can engage with the modern apprenticeship programme. We also have technical apprenticeships. They're much like the modern apprenticeship, but the qualifications are at a higher national or advanced diploma level, but they're working exactly the same way, and we make funding contributions towards it. So we've read for the baby, and now we're going to move to the daddy, which is the graduate apprenticeship programme. So graduate apprenticeships, or GAs as we call them, they offer a high level of academic and industry accreditation at degree and master's levels. They're a great way to invest in development of existing employees and give them the opportunity to actually achieve a degree, but still be in the working in the business. For a number of businesses, a graduate apprenticeship is really good, especially if somebody has been doing the job for a long time and have gained lots of experience, all that prior learning is actually taken into account, so they don't need to repeat it. And this allows for quite a flexible entry and exit point on the graduate apprenticeship programme, which is really beneficial for both. And again, you can use graduate apprenticeships to attract new talent into the business. So they combine academic learning alongside their day job. They're working on projects that they already do as part of their day-to-day job role. So they're still working in the business. And that blended approach allows them to put into practice straight away the new skills that they're gaining. On the delivery front for GAs, the universities have adapted and provided different approaches. Some deliver through day release, others kick off with boot camps, or deliver the graduate apprenticeship through block release. These different delivery modes allows a business to actually select the right delivery mode to suit the business need, which is great. You know, universities are normally delivering it in an academic year, but for the graduate apprenticeship, they've really changed things around to suit businesses. So currently we've got 12 GA frameworks, and we're working with 15 university partners. Graduate apprenticeships are currently fully funded and support sectors important to the Scottish economy. So all the information about apprenticeships, the pathways, the funding, the contractor training providers can be found on a single website called apprenticeships.scot. So if we could, we have moved on to the apprenticeship employer grant. So that's financial support to recruit and upskill new employees or existing employees. Time is running out to access this particular initiative, and it's available for modern and graduate apprenticeship pathways. What it is it's £5,000 financial support available to recruit or to upskill an existing employee in the age range 16 to 24, as well as £3,500 is available for the age 25 plus age group to recruit again or to support employees who've actually changed job roles. So for that change in job role, if they've moved up within the business and they want to do an apprenticeship, part of the evidence that is required is we need to see evidence of a change in the actual job description, just to make you aware of what that is. So this grant is available through our contracted training providers, and in order to process the grant, the employee needs to be registered as an apprentice with the accredited awarding body. So that takes time for definite. My personal thoughts are it's perhaps too late if you've not already recruited a new employee, but you can still use it. It's still going to be an option for existing employees that have actually changed job roles. But if you are interested in this grant, I would recommend that you speak with the training provider as soon as possible. The other apprenticeship support is the Adopting Apprentice. So that's £5,000 financial support to employ a redundant apprentice. This programme kind of came about as a result of the oil and gas crash. There are a number of redundant apprentices in the marketplace looking for opportunities to complete their apprenticeship to allow them to become qualified. All of them are semi-skilled in their sector, and they've got experience in the workplace. So the £5,000 funding is to support a business to employ them until they actually have completed the qualification and become qualified. There's no requirement for the business to continue to employ them once that's been achieved, but it's actually a really great way to road test a potential permanent employee. So our contracted training providers process this financial incentive. They also, might be aware of some redundant apprentices that you might be interested in interviewing, or you may have actually already been contacted by a redundant apprentice. A lot of them are making direct contact with business. So this incentive is available for modern and graduate apprentices, and due to the current situation we're all living in and living through, I think this will be an ongoing incentive available until, you know, we're over through COVID. Okay, so could I have the next slide, please? Individual training accounts, they've been around for a number of years. They used to be ILAs, they're now ITAs. But the difference is all the funded courses under an individual training account are accredited or recognised. So employees earning less than 22,000 can access an ITA, and it provides a grant of up to £200 towards a course. As the title suggests, the grant is available to the individual, so they would need to apply for it. But if a business has identified that there's some learning and development needs in eligible employees, this is a good way to actually encourage them to access this grant if they've not already used it. It's available for one application each year. This year we have 28,000 ITA opportunities available, and they'll be available to until the end of March, or before if the 28,000 has been reached. So the final programme I want to talk about is the National Transition Training Fund. So this is really good for businesses that have actually got job opportunities. They can tap into some recruitment support, as well as a fully funded qualification from a range of different accredited courses that, you know, you would maybe want a potential employee to need to have, or might be desired by the business. So the fund is expanded and been enhanced to actually support individuals 25 plus whose employment has been impacted by COVID, and as a result have become unemployed or they're under threat of redundancy, and that goes back to the beginning of March this year. So it's delivered through our Employability Fund network, and it's due to end on the 31st of March. So again, tight lines are tight to access this. There's lots of accredited courses available to support a wide range of sectors, forestry, construction, logistics are a few, as well as more generic courses like forklift, IOSH, managing safely. There's even project management in it. So that's some of the support available from SDS, and some of the options you might want to consider when you're looking to actually employ these young people that are in the Dumfries and Galloway area.
Pam, thank you so much for that. An insightful look and lots to take in. If you have got any questions about anything you've heard so far this morning, please feel free, pop it into the chat box. As some of you have already been doing, we're picking those up, and we're going to try and answer those questions for you at the end of this presentation. So just pop your questions in there, and we'll see what we can do to try and get you an answer on this one. At this point, Graham, I mean, what are the next steps? If somebody has an idea, but they don't know where to begin, how can they get in touch and find out what those steps are?
Yeah, I very much want them to contact myself in the first place. I would then take that to the Employer Engagement Forum. Now, this is just a group of different organisations that meet on a regular basis, just like the Kickstart group. It's very, very similar. So the Council's Employability and Skills Service, DWP, Skills Development Scotland, DYW and the Chamber of Commerce all sit in this group, but so does the two colleges, Dumfries and Galloway College and the SRUC, the third sector, and there's a private training provider representation on that group as well. So as Melanie kind of described it, it's almost like the public sector organisation wiring that you don't need to be overly concerned about. You just need to know where to put your plug in. So I suppose in many respects, I'm the plug, because I then take it to Pam and Melanie and various others to say, this is what a company or an organisation is looking for. Where's the best route to go down? You know, what actually suits them best. So I'm more than happy for anybody to get in contact with me and explain exactly, you know, what their employment or recruitment requirements are. and I can, as I say, take that to the group, and it'll be the Kickstart programme, it may be the apprenticeship route may be available, or indeed other employability options that you've heard from the council and various others. This group ultimately is aiming to present a coordinated sort of front to employers to offer an accessible and hopefully understandable offering to our employers within Dumfries and Galloway that's kind of tailored to their local and geographical needs. So we all work within Dumfries and Galloway, we all work with local businesses. It's to stop, I suppose, 7 different people chapping on your door for the same thing. It's to allow you a single point of entry. So if it comes in through myself, I will take it to this group, most of whom are here today anyway, to facilitate that discussion, and then point the business in the right direction, or somebody from that group to contact the business who would be best placed to answer their query. So we're really keen to hear if any organisation or any businesses, can offer work experience, they can offer a Kickstart place, or they're looking at apprenticeships, or they're looking to expand, or looking for support for upskilling and training of their people and employees. So don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you so much. And again, if you want to get in touch with Graham, you can see his email address there on the screen, graham.galloway@dywdg.co.uk. At this point, we're going to open the chat box. We're going to have a little look in there and try and answer any questions that you may already have. So feel free to just pop them in there. Pam, just to get things started, if I can actually come to yourself, what a question in there from Raymond Boyd from the Boyd Group. He was saying, how easy is it to get that modern apprenticeship support? Because you mentioned some of the areas that you've already got stuff in there. Also, Raymond is looking for something much more specific, if you would. And this example is a fire extinguisher apprentice. How easy is it to I'm not going to say to make that happen, but is that essentially what it is?
Basically, all the apprenticeships are actually developed by industry, but it's based on demand from sectors. So in England, there are literally hundreds of thousands of apprenticeships available, from nail bar technician, right up to, you can get an apprenticeship in loads of different scientific areas. But in Scotland, it really is demand. So if there is a demand in a particular sector, it's up to the Sector Skills Council to actually demonstrate they've got that demand, develop the training that would be required and the framework that would be required. And then it comes to SDS and the Scottish Government to seek approval for those particular training programmes to become apprenticeships with the 3 different elements. And then attract funding. So it's quite long and laborious, a journey for definite, but it definitely can be done. But you have to have the demand demonstrated by the sector.
And again, you say by the sector, could that, and I'm just throwing this out there because obviously, could this be a regional sector, or again, would it be a nationwide? I mean, so for example, say Raymond found a demand, for example, I'm just using this here, in the south of Scotland, maybe across Dumfries and Galloway and the Scottish borders. Would that be able to be addressed and looked at, or would it need to be a nationwide, a Scotland-wide approach?
Well, if there is enough demand in a specific area, then, we would look at providing a modern apprenticeship for the sector, and it would be available nationally. However, it might only be employers in a particular area that would actually start using it. But once we develop them and they're publicised, other businesses see the benefit of putting their staff through that particular apprenticeship.
Definitely think it's a conversation worth having. Raymond, if it's all right with yourself, we're going to pass your details over to Pam and certainly make that conversation happen. Keep your questions coming in either in the chat box or by emailing them over to myself on this other screen here, lee.med@dgchamber.co.uk is how you can get your questions in right now. Melanie, we have had a few people coming in saying they are interested in the Kickstart scheme, but they have heard there is a bit of a time situation, a time lag with them. And again, I think that we can share a little bit of our experience from this Kickstart group, can't we? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, thanks, Lee. And I think you can probably come in as well on this. There was definitely a time lag initially. There was a time lag in getting approval for the gateways, but we all now have our approval in Dumfries and Galloway. And then there was a subsequent delay in getting vacancies approved. But DWP have put an awful lot of staff on that now. And they've moved a lot of staff into the area, and we're very lucky, I think, because Kerry in the DWP here was doing such a good job, and Dumfries and Galloway is being recognised for that coordinated approach, that she's been moved into the sort of central Kickstart team, I guess, to think of it. So we've got a really close link with them, and I think the turnaround now for vacancies, from submitting the paperwork to getting approval to go ahead and start the advertisement through the DWP is around 2 to 3 weeks. Would that be right, Lee? I think you've submitted some of the paperwork already, haven't you?
Yeah, it's definitely one of these things. Obviously, we were much like yourself. We, as a gateway, applied in September, the first tranche. We didn't actually get our approval letter through until the first week of January, and we had a whole host of employers that registered their interest back with us when we first put that communication out at the tail end of last year. They themselves only found out they got approved a couple of weeks ago. Since then, we've uploaded another almost 40 businesses with their interests going away to DWP. Now, we are being told, as you've mentioned there, 2 week to 3 week turnaround at the very most, in case they've got to come back for ask for any questions. Once we get that back, we give all the employers a phone, check a few details that they are happy to proceed, and then again a 2 week turnaround. The stuff that I sent to Kerry last week actually up and running on the website. I got an email about that this morning, so they are really on the ball with this now. But for us, I think the big thing we would reiterate to anyone that's interested in Kickstart is register your interest with us now. Register your interest so we can actually do all those pre-approval checks and get things done, because that is the big thing that seems to be having the time constraint around it, taking up a lot of the time to do the business checks. Then once you've got that approval, you've got between now and the end of this year to actually start your Kickstart placement, which is fantastic, because these placements are there to help your business develop. They're there to help your workforce and these individuals develop. And it's about what works for both employer and the employee ultimately, which is what these people are going to be. So getting that information and getting your business registered and approved is the big thing that takes the time. So any comments, any questions on that, pick up the phone, fire a comment over to us, and we'll have a conversation with you and see what we can develop along those lines for you. But as Mel was saying, we've got a great team here in Dumfries and Galloway working on this that meet every Friday morning. We usually last about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, but we are most promisingly making huge strides in this moving forward. Who else do we have? Any more questions in here? Let's go into the question and answer box. Here we go. This person said, I'm aware of a local employer who has taken on a 26-year-old third-year architect apprentice who was made unemployed during the last year. Is there any support available, or would the employer qualify for the £5,000 award? So I suppose that would be the adopt an apprenticeship scheme, the apprentice scheme. Pam, certainly on first reflection, what you hear in that information that we're being provided here in the chat box, would that kind of person be eligible for that?
Indeed, they would. Well, the employer would be eligible to claim that grant, and providing that they are employed and they have recommenced their apprenticeship, yeah, they definitely would get the £5,000 support. So happy to connect with that employer to support them to access that grant.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. See, this is what I like about these things. Get people together and we can answer questions and make things happen almost right away. Keep your questions and comments coming in. If we can't answer them now, we will take all your details and get them back to you. And of course, if you want to go back and watch any of this webinar back, because it has been an awful lot of information to try and take in, it's going to be available on the Dumfries and Galloway Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel from just after midday today. By the time I get it down, top and tail it and get it back uploaded, we all know what internet is like across Dumfries and Galloway, so it's going to take a little bit of time to get that uploaded. But thank you all so much for taking the time this morning. Just going to go once more around the room and ask for a hope and a wish. How do you think we are going to be coming out of this at the end of this year? What hopes do you have for the young workforce across Dumfries and Galloway? Graham Galloway, if you could.
I really hope that opportunities start opening up as businesses start coming on. And I have heard one or two businesses talking about actually expansion plans, which is really, really good. I really appreciate that businesses are going through a torrid time just now, and many are just focusing on survival, and I absolutely get that. But I do hope in the back of their mind that they're thinking about future recruitment, about giving young people an opportunity from the, young people from Dumfries and Galloway, just that chance to actually make their way in life. And I really hope, the money that the government have put in, that we can utilise that to actually create those opportunities within businesses. Thank you so much, Graham. If you want to contact him, it's graham.galloway@dywdg.co.uk. Pam from SDS, you've given it a lot of support, a lot of help this morning. I expect your inbox is going to be overflowing with queries over the next few days. What do you hope for the young workforce across the region coming out of this pandemic?
I mean, they have been so badly impacted, and that's going to be a generational issue for definite. And young people bring a totally different spin to a business. When we used to take them on work experience, I would like to keep them actually in my desk, because they come up with ways, you have a set way of doing something, you go through A, B, C, D, and they would sit there and they would say, why are you doing B and C? You just need to go from A to D. They have a totally different approach on issues and problems in businesses, and it's really quite refreshing. So I really do hope, these are the future employees of the organisations that are there, and they are really talented, and they bring a lot to a business. Especially around digital skills, that on its own, which I really benefit from. But I hope with all the support that is available currently, and probably will continue in the future, that businesses open the doors to bring young people into the workplace for definite.
Thank you very much, Pam. And Marie and Melanie, obviously from the Employability and Skills, but the award-winning Employability and Skills Department within Dumfries and Galloway Council. Obviously, lots of support, lots of advice from the different strands of the council there. How easy is it to actually be able to make a difference? Obviously, you guys see it, you're making a difference in young people's lives all the time through your Employability and Skills Awards, for example. How do you hope the young workforce in the region is going to come out of this?
Well, just listening to what Graham said and listening to what Pam has just said, I suppose as a local authority, we really hope that what we can do here is build on the brilliant collaboration that we have in Dumfries and Galloway, and make sure that we are now bringing employers and business in a coordinated way into that. So between us, we can, if you have opportunities, we can support you. And that might be financial support, but equally know that that support is there, that person one-to-one support for young people who have maybe found it a bit difficult, or maybe have some barriers or lack of confidence. But between us all, we've got all the tools there in the box to be able to build up these young people to be part of our really, vibrant, hopefully inclusive young workforce in Dumfries and Galloway.
Spot on. Thank you so much. A fantastic answer. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Melanie. All that's left for me to say is thank you very much for taking the time to our panelists this morning. Thank you to you, our attendees, for being part of this. And just to look ahead, we have another fantastic webinar taking place this coming Wednesday. That's Wednesday, the 3rd of March, 2021. It's presented in association with our good friends Armstrong Watson. It's all about the importance of financial and emotional well-being and education, what you can do to help support your workforce moving forward. If you want to find out more about that or all the other events that are taking place, head on over to our website, www.dgchamber.co.uk. And of course, you can catch up on demand anytime you like by visiting our YouTube channel, just searching for DG Chamber. On behalf of our panelists, thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll hope to answer all your questions very, very soon.